Hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome to the channel. Now if you've watched the channel before, you might recognize this car as my $600 Supercharged Mercedes C-Class. I've done a lot of work to it to get it back on the road, and one of the things I've done is add an aftermarket head unit. So that adds Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but one of the other things you can add is a backup camera. So today we're going to get started on that. So the first thing we want to do to connect our backup camera is to get to the connection at the back of our head unit. So to do that, we have to disassemble the center stack here. So we're going to start with the vents, then this panel, and then we'll work back up from the bottom here until we can pull the radio out. Now I went into a lot of detail for this in the radio install video, so you can check that out too, but one of the things we have to remember is there's two little catches here. See these two little tabs? And we need to angle this past the lock, so the bottom tab, once it's up, will let you pivot this up a little further, which will let you get to the screws at the bottom. And then that top one here will let you pivot this down further to get to the catches at the top. So you angle this up, gently push that little tab outwards. That angles it further. Do the same thing in here. On this vent, it's on the left side. Actually, and then there's a T20 screw here and here. Now in my case, this vent was damaged before I got the car, so the top clips, which we would normally reach in and push down with a screwdriver or a pick, are broken. So once I take these out, they'll come out. Should be able to see them right here. And right there. Those screws should be captive. And then what you would do is angle this down, release this catch and this catch, so you can angle it further and release the two tabs in there. So, but this should, oh geez, come out. I have to wiggle this out. There we go. So normally right here you would have this little catch that grabs it here. So you lower it down out to here and it should let you pull it out. The screws are supposed to be captive. Unfortunately, they have fallen into the dash for me. We will get them back. Two screws. All right, now right here, a screw here and a screw here. This will slide up. There's a connector here, right there. Put that aside. Now we have to work from the bottom. So just pull this trim panel off. I have a manual. If you have an automatic, there's a little trim panel here. Slide it forward and then rotate it. So there's two clips. There we go. There's a connector for the 12 volt. I actually drilled a hole for this wire. Okay, that comes off at an angle. You can see it right here, plugs in there. And then down here we have two screws. We're doing the outer ones. See right there. Same thing on the other side, we're doing the outer screws. And that pulls forward. So to disconnect here, there's two connectors. One is a cam lock. So you get this here, this one right here, and this cam lock here. You pull that, you release the gray catch, pull it all the way down, and you're good to go. Now we can remove the head unit itself. So that's going to be 4 T20 screws. And then you can slide this forward. I actually already connected the backup camera wire when I installed the radio, but I didn't try to connect this power harness. So there's a little power wire that goes to the extension here, and I think that this here, this red wire called back, on my head unit should provide 12 volts when the car is in reverse. So we're going to test that out. What I need to do here is, I guess, just strip this and then try to go from this to a ground and put the car in reverse and see if that will provide 12 volts. And if it does, I can just power the camera with that, and I don't have to worry about anything at the back except finding a ground for the camera. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to take this back wire, strip it. I'm going to, actually I'm just going to use a butt connector right now to make it a little easier for me to check with my multimeter. Okay, just wedge that here so I can actually go into reverse there. All right, so reverse automatically goes in here. Now we need this and a ground. Is this a ground? Where is their metal here? I guess the chassis is a ground. That's 12 volts. See, 11.73. And if I take it out of reverse, it goes to 0. Take that out, shut this off. And that means that this wire off of the camera extension, I can strip. You might notice it's really thin, but one thing I do sometimes is fold it over, twist. Okay, that should be good. Now what we can do is actually put this back in. Oh, I remember it was a tight fit, so. And then I gotta drop this panel because that's where I put my extension into. And we can double check that we're getting 12 volt at the other side. Down here we have these 3 screws here. This is what we're looking for. I ran this in previously. I want to make sure that gets 12 volts, and that would mean our connection is good. I have to slide this forward just to get a ground on there. We'll do the same thing. 0. 11.79. Right there. Now, if you didn't watch the radio install, the way I ran the wire here is you reach down through here behind that panel and you can actually feed it through. I think you have to go through the main opening here and you can kind of feed it through in there. It's a little tight, but it'll fit. I may have done it the other way, like fed it up in there and just pulled it up through once I caught it and plugged it in where it needed to go. Now to reassemble this, do everything backwards. I'm going to leave this open because there's another job I have to do in here, but we're going to keep moving on the routing for the backup cameras. So to run this video camera extension, what we're going to do is we're going to run it inside the trim and then around this B-pillar and down towards the rear. So one thing we're going to do first is remove this panel, which is easy if you just grab a trim tool. You can just pop it out. There we go. Slide that out. There's a hook there. There we go. And what we're going to do here is pull this through around here, and then it can go into the trim. I'm actually going to start by untangling it before I start feeding things through. Then we can actually screw this back in while we're here. Leave a tiny bit of slack in there just in case. So right here, what we're going to do is we're going to start tucking it inside the seal here. So now as we come here, I have the wire run all the way into here, and you'll notice this is actually a giant zip tie. And I'm going to show you why it's here. So back here in the trunk, we have a little bit of trim here, and this is held on with two clips, like one right here and one right here. So these are, they look like this. So there's like a base piece and a cap piece, so, or a plunger kind of thing. So what this does is it pushes in and it'll push these apart to stop them from coming out. So you got to carefully pry this out, and then you can pull this piece out, and then this can flex out. Now I'm going to put this light in here, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you why I have that zip tie in there. So instead of removing the seat completely, you can kind of pull this here, and if you look in there with the right alignment, you can make out a little bit of light in there. And that light is that cavity back there behind the liner. So I fed this in and aimed it in there, and that'll allow me to pull this through into there so I can get it further into the trunk. So I'm going to tape up this piece on here, and it'll pull it through. So I'm going to go in there, grab the other side of the zip tie and pull it through. So you can kind of see in here, see what I can do. Yep, the zip tie is right here. Pull through and hopefully it'll come through. Might have to go to the other side and see. Yeah. Feed it in by hand there. Pull that through. We don't want to go too fast. But right here I can reach here and watch here. Since our goal is to tuck this away, I don't want to take too much slack out because I want to get this right here. So you have it right here. Push that down in there. And it's tucked away. So now nothing is visible here. Just runs all the way down to the front. So now we're going to remove this trim from the trunk so we can run that wire up in here, tuck it away, and into the plate area. So the first thing we have to do is take off these two screws, which are T25s. A little short, a little point. It just comes off here. The handle has a little tab here. So right in here, we have to pry on that to release it. So this pops out. So this here is where that catches. And now we have to take off all these clips, which are center. You can just pull them out. And pull the little plungers out here. And then we'll pull the actual retainer out. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then I think there's one on here and one on here. And this is the inner part of the retainer here. So there's a little connector in here for the emergency trunk release. That looks like that right here. The latch. And we can slide this out. Slide it out of these guys here. Now with our panel off, you can actually see there's a harness that runs up here for, you know, all the lock and the latch up here and the release. And we're actually going to follow along this to get our camera wire, camera plug. So if we look in here, you can see that loop there is the harness that goes into the panel, the trunk panel. So what I'm going to do is actually zip tie this to that, and then what we're going to do is also try to run it inside this plastic cover. So as you can see right here, there's a little cover here, and it kind of latches in there. So we can pop that open, feed the wire through, pop it back in. Then there's one here, 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 and here. And then I can zip tie it along here and have it follow that. I got a zip tie in there. I'll trim that up in a second. I'm gonna see about popping that trim off. Okay, see if you pry that off here. So you can see it's out of its holder. I can just slide this in, pop that back down, and it's latched back in. Now we'll work our way up along there. All right, hinge looks good. That's all snapped back in here. And now we can bring it over into this area. And we are right here. All right, looks great. So now that we've run the video extension cable into the trunk, it's time to figure out where we're gonna route it for the camera. So there's like a plastic panel right here, and you could screw in a camera here or here, kind of out of the way, and probably run the wire through here, or maybe drill through the plastic and through the metal and get everything out. So I'm actually thinking it's probably gonna be through this. But to remove that, we're actually gonna have to remove the plastic trim panel here, which is held in by that nut and some clips, which you can see right there on either side, and then up at the top along there, back there. So unfortunately, I just realized looking through my parts that I don't have the camera I had planned to use for this. So that is going to delay the end of this project a little bit. So that's a little bit of a roadblock on this installation, but I have the camera on order and it'll be arriving this week. So in next week's video, we'll be finishing up this install. And in that video, we'll also be taking care of another issue that's been sitting around with this car that I also needed to take out the radio to work on. So let me show you what that issue is. So that clicking is one of the flaps in the HVAC routing that's not working properly. So we're gonna have to get in here and figure out which one that is and replace the broken piece. So join me next week to finish up this backup camera install and find out what's going on in the dash with all that clicking. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, like more content on this car or other cheap European cars I've worked on, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.